welcome to the show. This is Banter Boxes from Mando's. We're going to be discussing villains because I've done my top 5 and it's caused quite a bit of discussion today. So, I'll introduce the crew to you. Today's crew is, we have me, Mandalor-Ian, X-Wing Jesus, along with C3 Barl-0, human cyborg relation of a protocol droid.
Howdy.
You all right?
Yeah, all good, mate.
Good. And then we have, first time on the show, we have Joshoka Tano.
That's me.
He's a Jedi wannabe. His force power is he'll tell you what you want, what you really, really want.
And a positive attitude.
He likes his spice.
Right, so without any further ado, we'll run down my top 5, and it's proved a little bit controversial today because it's not to everybody's liking, which is kind of, that's what you want a discussion to start. So in 5th place, we have Grand Moff Tarkin. In 4th place, Grand Admiral Thrawn. In 3rd place, Darth Vader. That's caused some concern. Beaten by 2nd place, Darth Maul. And then 1st place, the Grand Architect of the Skywalker saga is Emperor Palpatine. So there you go. That's my top 5. I know that's caused a little bit of eruptions in the group chat that we've got today, and in some of the X-Wing chat where they're all, what about Moff Tarkin? Not Moff Tarkin, about Moff Gideon. What about Director Krennic? And we'll talk about them as the show goes on. But what do you guys think of my top 5?
I think your list is pretty much there. I agree with at least 4 of them. Tarkin, I'm not too sure about. I'm in the camp of maybe Ken. I can't remember his name. Who else did you just say? Krennic. That's the one. I'd stick him there above Tarkin.
All right. Okay. We'll discuss that in just a minute. How about you, Josh? Have you got any thoughts on who you'd include in the top 5?
Well, I had Vader as number 1, then Maul, then Starkiller. What's the word? Controversially, there we go. Then Pong Krell. Then I'd probably go with Moff Gideon.
Really?
Yeah, as number 5. Yeah, Moff Gideon's got to be on the list. He's such a good villain. Probably the best villain best new villain Star Wars has had for a while, I think. I wouldn't put Krennic on the list. I think he's a bit of a runt.
Yeah, see.
But I just think he's just dark. He doesn't care who he upsets. Tarkin, he's doing his job, but Krennic's doing it for fun. He didn't have to have Galen's wife killed, but he just doesn't care, does he? I think he's a real villain.
That was in response to being shot by her, wasn't it? I don't think he gave the order for that. I think that was just someone shot.
He doesn't care about it. He would have ordered it if it suited his plans. He lines up all them scientists. Yeah, kill them all. I don't care.
Sure. I think he's just as evil as Tarkin, but without the mind. Tarkin will have an evil plan. Several
makes him more dangerous,
everyone else.
So
I'm not sure because he.
Go on, Ian. He's well acted. There is a difference between well acted and.
Yeah.
Right. The difference for me with Krennic is he doesn't actually achieve anything.
Right.
Yes, we know he's become a director. We know he's probably had a lot of stuff to get there and screwed a few people over and that. But we don't actually see him achieving any diabolical plans or anything, do we?
That's not true. He gets shot by his own weapon.
I think his biggest flaw, why he's probably not on most people's list, is because Tarkin just takes everything from him. Yeah, you've built this amazing base. You could have got all the glory, but I'm going to take it from you.
He's egotistical and overambitious, and that's ultimately his downfall.
Yeah, the ambition, definitely. But
okay.
so that also makes him blind to the person that's going to make him a success, which is
Exactly.
Galen. So it's like,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That is a major flaw of his, that he really underestimates his position when he compares that to his superiors like Grand Moff Tarkin and like Darth Vader. They both put him back in his place, and he's just got no comeback to it, has he?
Mm.
So that's kind of Krennic. Yeah, he's well acted in Rogue One. That whole film is well acted and really well put together. But when we look at the other one, what was one of the ones that you came up with, Josh?
So I had Pong Krell on there.
Who's that?
Yeah, I haven't heard of him.
Oh,
People that don't know.
People haven't been watching Clone Wars. Pong Krell was a high-ranking Jedi Master and General during the Clone Wars. There were several episodes.
Did he have 4 arms?
4 arms. Yep, 4 arms.
Yeah,
2 double-ended
he didn't care if the
lightsabers.
clones.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So he led Anakin's platoon against some enemies on, I think it was Felucia. That could be wrong. And then a mishap happened where you had 2 clone battalions firing on each other, thinking they were the enemy. You think this is an accident. Turns out it's all orchestrated because Pong Krell wants to attract the Sith who's hiding in the shadows and become his new apprentice.
Mm.
So,
yeah. I remember now. He has no care for the lives of any of Anakin's troopers, and there's a lot of conflict during the episodes. But saying that, yeah, he's a really good bad guy. Actually, really unexpected. You think he's just a bit horrible, and then a bit war weary, a bit aggressive.
You think he just cares about getting results?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it turns out no, there is the dark ulterior motive. So that was quite good for me. The betrayal of it.
Sounds good. I only watched the last series of Clone Wars just to get up to date with stuff. I know I will go.
Yeah, I'm not even there
yet. It's a major fault of Disney, I think, that they haven't put the Clone Wars in chronological order. So you could just click and play, and then just play the next thing. But we're not talking about that today. Others, the dark sides.
We can put Disney on the list of villains if you want.
The mouse is the worst one on the lot. But anyway, so you had another one there as well, Josh, didn't you?
Oh, the other potentially unknown, Starkiller.
Starkiller, who's that one?
So before Disney bought Star Wars, there were 2 big games that came out. The Force Unleashed. You've ever heard the title? Yeah. Where you play as Darth Vader's secret apprentice, Starkiller, who turns out to be the son of a Jedi Vader killed. It turns out your name is Galen Marix. That's where Galen Erso comes from, because Star Wars just recycles everything. But that was interesting because you transition during the game from being Vader's apprentice and going off and killing some exiled Jedi for him. So you kill Pazdan Karatis, you probably won't know, Kazdan Paratus rather. But that was the original. You go up and kill Shark T. You'll at least know her. Yeah. So Shark T's had like 3 different canon deaths throughout Star Wars.
So he dies well.
Yeah. But The Force Unleashed was the only game where you get her in a bikini, so But yeah, I thought he was really good because you had a really nasty piece of work, then going through a redemption arc and switching over to the rebel side and fighting against Vader. And long story short, he ends up being like the most powerful Force user ever and ends up like basically exploding with the Force to save his friends. But then they ruin it with the second game and bring him back for some reason.
Yeah, I remember from the games you had some really uber Force powers. That
first one has some really nice progression. You go from being pretty weak actually to then being the strongest thing ever, and then the second game you start as the strongest thing ever. You're wielding 2 lightsabers, and not only that, you're wielding them backhanded, which is silly anyway. And yeah, nothing can stop you from first level. So what's the point? But that's not what we're talking about. He was a good villain, I thought, and he gets a mention on the list.
Yeah. So the reason I've got Grand Moff Tarkin on there, because basically, all right, he's had orders from the Emperor to make a display of the Death Star, but he has no qualms about just destroying a planet just like that. And that takes some actual balls to actually do that. We know that Star Wars is based on World War II, a lot of all that, concentration camps and, stormtroopers straight away. That's the German soldier. But just to order the destruction of a planet is absolutely crazy. Did they work out the gravitational, outfall of all that? And then he go on to go, oh, we're going to destroy this moon as well, where the rebels are on to crush the rebellion. There's all sorts of, astrological and celestial consequences from just doing that. It's mental, absolutely mental.
Palpatine's warped in that way, because I think it's in the current canon, but it could be pre-Disney stuff. But Tarkin had a son who was like his pride and joy. And I think Palpatine secretly ordered his death, and I think it was Darth Vader who goes and kills the son. But they frame the rebels for it, so they give Tarkin a real bugbear against the rebels. So I think at that point he doesn't really care who gets hurt in the way. He's getting vengeance for his son, basically, which is really clever. Insidious.
I mean, a lot of his tactics are the quickest and dirtiest way to achieve his objectives. So I need to get rid of this one cell, get rid of the planet. As you say, it's it's where it's common sense. You've got a few diseased cells in your body, you cut out that portion. Your toe goes gangrene, cut off your foot. I know, deep philosophy.
Alan's house. I don't know.
I'd probably try the toe first just to see if I get away with it.
But you run the risk of sepsis. It can't spread, so you get rid of. You go in there, all guns blazing. I'll destroy this planet. I'll get rid of that rebel cell. There's no more rebels.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, mate. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But he does some crazy stuff. He's kidnapped. He's responsible for kidnapping a Leia, Jeddah getting blown up. You've got Scarif as well getting blown up. He's just doing things out of hand, and it's quite extreme what he's doing as well.
Also, blatantly betraying his own subordinates.
Yeah. Shove some of that.
Just
and
anyone.
And he knows it's getting rid of Krennic as well. He's been a bit of a pain.
Yeah. In some of the Clone Wars series, Tarkin comes into it. I think he was a captain at the time, or a commander on one.
Captain or admiral or something like that.
And you still get a sense of that kind of character being portrayed in that. So you can tell from an early age there is that villainous side there. He doesn't want to do everything by the book or cleanly. He wants, you can sense there he's going to be the Emperor's stooge. He's going to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think he's meant to be your classic portrayal of a psychopath, where psychopaths are really good in the military while they're in the military, but difficult to keep under control because they make the best snipers, for example, because they'll absolutely get the shot. The problem with the psychopaths is they'll ignore all the mission parameters, like don't kill civilians or whatever. If a civilian is stood in the way and it happens to be the best shot they'll get all day, they'll just do it. And that's Tarkin.
Yeah. So that's enough for Tarkin. He's taken up far too much time. So let's talk about. So I had Vader at number 3, basically because he's more of the what I see as a henchman type figure. Doesn't seem to really have any major plans himself, other than to try and resurrect Padme. That's all he seems interested in, and carrying out the Emperor's orders. So he's more like he is a henchman. He's not scheming. He's not coming up with all these plans for galactic domination. He's just like, Emperor says, go over there, stop them messing around. And you're like, right, okay, off he goes. That's why I've only got him at number 3. But, he is one of my favourite characters, no doubt.
Yeah,
Top villain.
I would have put it. I think he should be higher, at least number 2. because he had the intentions in the whole events of Revenge of the Sith. He clearly says his intention was to rule the galaxy. He was going to overthrow Palpatine. That was his plan. He wanted to do it with Padme, and it was only because of the events of that movie that he became this henchman. He was at the Emperor's mercy because he had his arms and legs cut off. He wasn't at his power to be able to fight him anymore, and he had no other choice. He had to fall in line to survive. But then, with events that happened with the purge of the Jedi between 3 and 4, with the Inquisitors, it really showed how dark what he would do to get the job done.
So it shows in the game Fallen Order that he's responsible for breaking most of the former Jedi and making them the Inquisitors. They're all in fear of him, and he gets an awesome reveal. Like, I thought his reveal in Rogue One was the best we'd ever see of Vader, but actually he's even cooler in Fallen Order. And you've got the Inquisitor, who's been the big bad guy for the whole game, basically melting in front of you because you can hear Vader's footsteps and him breathing, and she's screwed up and she's gone. It's like, I think you're right in that he doesn't have a grand plan, so he can't have number one, but you could argue that he's much more of a monster and has done much more bad during Palpatine's rule than Palpatine really has. But it's not for enjoyment or really any objective like Tarkin. It's more, I think, with Vader, his big thing, the reason why he's basically the most powerful Sith ever, if you ignore sequel Palpatine, is because Sith are all powered by hate, but Vader is the only Sith that hates himself, and that's powerful. Like, everything he does is because he's just trying to commit, because it's so far gone. The Anakin in him knows everything's a mistake, but he's so far gone that he just wants to basically destroy himself as he goes. So, which is why you get him doing like a lot nastier stuff than any other villain that's on this list. But I agree, maybe not number one, just because he has no grand plan.
It's like I rate Maul above him simply because of all the scheming and all he manages to achieve. Do you see what I mean? Whereas he doesn't necessarily get all the evil stuff. Sure, that's probably because he gets chopped in half at the end of the Phantom Menace and then cast aside by Palpatine. But that is where Maul's hate comes in, and he, puts himself really into revenge on Palpatine, on Anakin, on all of this sort of stuff, on Kenobi as well. It's all about revenge.
And you've got all the benefits of him basically being, whereas any other Sith under Palpatine can be classed as a henchman, Maul's basically his son. Maul's like an extension of him. Maul has all the teachings, which is why when he forms his crime syndicate, was it Crimson Dawn, something like that? The reason he runs that so well is because he learned everything from Palpatine. Yeah,
but he almost outsmarts Palpatine as well at the end of Clone.
Yeah.
Can't tell you about that because you haven't seen it. There's all sorts in that last season of Clone Wars that you need to see just to appreciate. Really, really good. And he almost stops.
Through the Clone Wars, we see a lot of his flaws. As you say, with Obi, he had the obsession of having to get revenge on Obi-Wan, and there's the madness there from what happened to him. And he becomes more about just trying to survive, trying to make himself survive in the world with his syndicates, with that kind of his gangs and stuff.
Yeah, and then we see him again in Rebels. He's on his own again there and he's trying to get his own apprentice with Ezra. And my favourite bit of that is where he fools Kanan into going, "Oh, he's just down here," and he walks into the airlock and he just flushes him out of the airlock. And, oh my God, what's Kanan going to do? How's he going to get back in? And that was just so cool, the way he's able to do these really evil little things and manipulate people as well
I think with his entire character arc, we pretty much see his entire life. We see his beginnings in Phantom Menace. We see his downfall, where he obviously is chopped in half and has to rebuild himself, and then we see this broken old man at the end, only on Tatooine in his enemy's arms. Talking about Luke.
Yeah,
and it's a really interesting character, but I think that kind of his flaws and that entire arc just puts him below Vader for me.
Oh man, well, we're going to have to end the show there because we're running out of time. So
Sidious is the man. Let's just say that.
We've had a really good discussion. Thank you for coming on the show, and we'll see you next time. So
you're welcome.
This is the way.
Hey, there we are.
Mentos.